Welcome back to Extra Blue. I'm your host, Elena Sonneson. I hope you've been enjoying your spring wherever you are. I have been spending April in Vermont with my boyfriend, and we have been visiting lots of East Coast friends, doing some downhill skiing, and recovering from a very busy ski season. It typically takes me quite a bit of time to reflect on a season, and this past one was a very big one in many ways. I've been doing a lot of journaling, talking with friends, and thinking about what went well throughout the season, what didn't, and how I feel about the process and the outcome. Chatting with friends and teammates while doing an activity is one of my most productive ways to reflect, and I got to do just that with Julia Kern a few weeks ago while alpine skiing at Sugarbush Mountain in Warren, Vermont. We talked a lot about this past season, and it was really great to catch up with her on her Olympic experience. So much so that I asked if she'd be willing to dive into it with me on this podcast.
I'm really proud to be supported by Gear West. Not just because they support athletes like me, but because they show up for the entire Nordic community. From helping kids learn to ski, to supporting high school and adult racers, to backing and participating in iconic events like the American Birkebeiner and so many local races. Gear West invests in what makes the Midwest Nordic ski community special. If you have goals on snow this season, whether it's your first race or a personal best, Gear West has the knowledge, gear, and support to help you get there. Stop by the campus in Long Lake, just a few minutes past Ridgedale.
This is the second time Julia has been on Extra Blue. In fact, Julia was my first guest back in 2022. If you want to get to know about Julia's childhood and how skiing played a role in her upbringing from an early age and how she got to where she is today, racing at the Olympics and on the World Cup every season, then I highly recommend heading back to episode 2 to give it a listen. On this episode, we keep our conversation focused on this past season and really get into her races at the Olympic Games. Julia placed 6th in the classic individual sprint and 5th in the skate team sprint with Jessie Diggins. We really focus on these two races, but Julia was also 24th in the 20K skiathlon and raced in the 4x7.5K women's team relay, which also placed 5th. On this episode, we talk about the weeks leading up to the Olympics, the nerves, excitement, and preparation, the differences from 4 years ago when the Olympics were held in Beijing on the tail end of a global pandemic, and then we get into the nitty-gritty of the 2 sprint races in Milano Cortina. I hope you enjoy this episode with Julia Kern. Hi, Julia. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today. It feels like we're just going to have a little chit chat like we would on a run or a ski or over the phone. So I'm very excited to chat with you. But how are things going? And also, where are you these days?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on the podcast and a great excuse to just have a little chit chat. I am calling in from Richmond, Vermont, where I'm based, and it's really nice to be home.
Yeah, welcome home. Well, how's it been so far? We're recording this the 3rd week of April, and so how has spring been so far in Richmond?
It's been really nice and it's been busy. I've been bopping around more than usual. I always think April's like, oh, I'm just going to be home and not really going anywhere. And then it seems to fill up pretty fast. But yeah, spring has gone by really fast. And I feel like now I'm finally like settling down a little bit, which is really exciting. But I head to Europe in a week for FIS meetings. So just when I'm starting to settle, it's turning it around again.
Yeah, real quick on that. You are an athlete rep for FIS, which is the International Ski Federation, the governing body for all international ski racing. And what is that like to be in that role as an athlete rep there?
I think it's been really eye-opening. I've learned so much about what goes into hosting a World Cup, all of the moving pieces. I think it's easy as an athlete to complain of like, oh, why is this way or this format or timing of races? But I've learned so much over the last 3 years, just of the inner workings of FIS and how many people put so much work into making the races happen, the television schedule, and then of course like our venues who even just like host the World Cup. That's a lot of financial commitment. And yeah, so it's really exciting. I think one of my favorite parts is getting to work closely with the cross country team. They really love hearing what the athletes have to say and we're really engaged. And then also just meeting the other athlete reps from other sports and hearing how it is and just making new friends is always really cool. I'm a social creature, so.
Yeah, cool. Well, you head all the way over to Slovenia for those races, right? Or for those meetings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Busy days, meetings, and then you go to dinner and you mingle with people. So it's like work and fun, but a lot of sitting.
Yeah. Well, you said you're leaving pretty soon. What adventures have you been getting up to in April then, in the meantime? You said you're
I
packed with.
mean, we went downhill skiing this weekend, so
We
that was
did.
pretty.
We did. Yeah.
I went out to Alaska for Hannah Halverson's bachelorette and a bunch of rad women going skiing in various forms. It was really cool to see Alaska in the spring. I've never experienced that. And then just otherwise bopping around for some doctor's appointments and figuring out some medical stuff. And then just day trips to go skin up a resort or go for a little run or hike.
Nice. Well, have you had much of a chance to really reflect back on this past ski season?
I have. It's been a long reflection period, and I feel like I'm still not done. But I have, it was a bit of a bittersweet ending for sure. And I think it's always really nice as an athlete to finish off a season on a high where you're feeling really motivated for the next year. But I also think those are the years the most dangerous because I think when I've had a really good season end, I come into the next year so motivated that it's pretty easy to overdo things and just be a little too excited. So mentally I'm not quite ready to dive in yet, but I think that's okay. And especially after an Olympic year, just giving yourself a little more time and being ready whenever your mind and body are ready to start back up again, I think is important.
Yeah, for sure. I know, I feel like some people talk about reflecting and they're like, yeah, I thought about it for 20 minutes and like, this is it. And I'm like, I need way more time to process things and reflect on things. I need like weeks, months. I need a whole year on certain things, It's, I feel like, I don't know if maybe I'm just a slow reflector or if some people are delusional about how quickly they reflect. I'm not sure. But
it's an ongoing cycle too, like it's like a roller coaster where some days I'm like, oh, like I'm feeling great. Some days I'm like, oh, I really haven't processed that yet and I don't have the answers. But I think that's what's really cool about skiing is there's always ways to improve and like ideally you're constantly reflecting about what you're doing in some ways.
Yeah. Well, I do want to dive into looking back on the Olympics this season and really kind of highlight those couple of weeks there. And this was not your first Olympics. You went to the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. Granted, those were kind of weird because we were still coming out of a pandemic. And so I know that probably a lot did look different from Beijing to Milano Cortina. But what felt really different for you in terms of like being at the Olympics from 2022 to this year?
Yeah, I would say it felt a lot different. In some ways, the Olympics this year felt more like a regular World Cup. It's at a venue we've raced at every year that we're familiar with, in a country we're familiar with, courses we're somewhat familiar with, and then having fans was really cool. Last Olympics, we didn't have fans. Like my family was able to come this Olympics, and there were so many American fans out there. So having that aspect was really special. And being in a hotel without like COVID testing every day and just living in a state of fear. It was also a lot warmer and more pleasant weather, I would say, as well. Beijing was like maybe the coldest weather I've ever experienced. So it just felt a lot more normal. Even, I mean, the Olympics always feel like heightened and a little bit different, but there was a sense of normalcy, which was really comforting.
Yeah, that's nice because I feel like athletes on the road crave that sense of normalcy and that sense of familiarity too. And it's not that common to get that. So to get that at the Olympic level is really nice. Was there anything that felt really different for you in terms of your mindset going into it? Were there any thoughts of like, I've done the Olympics before, this is going to be no problem? Or was there like, okay, I got that under my belt and now there's more expectations? What was different there?
Yeah, I would say the expectations and goals were different. The last games, I was really excited to make it and to be there and see what I could do. I had no idea what starts I would have, if any. Whereas this time around, I had every start I wanted to race. I didn't end up racing every single race. But like I could choose what I wanted to focus on. And I also like, yeah, had more of a result expectation on myself for things I really wanted to accomplish, which is a privilege, but also really challenging. I think the individual sprint day went as best it could given how I'd been skiing this season. Like I had, big dreams of like if everything comes together, I would want to be fighting for a medal. But like my goal was to make the final, and I did do that despite having, I would say, a subpar season. But then the team sprint day was really challenging, also really special. Like I was really excited to do one last team sprint with Jessie. And that's like my absolute favorite event and something that I was like my biggest goal for the season. And it, we weren't far off from the medals, but it's also heartbreaking to like miss it by a little bit and just feel like a few things didn't go the right way that day. And yeah, my mindset there, like I definitely felt the pressure and the expectation. And it's hard to prepare for. Like I was like, I want to prepare for this mentally, but like until it's race day and you're really nervous, like it's so like you can visualize it and visualize all these scenarios, and I did all of that, but until you do the thing, you're like, it's hard to fully prepare for it.
Yeah, you still have to go and execute it and execute it the way you want to. I definitely want to kind of dive into both of those races, but before we even get there, you talked about like the mental preparation that you were doing, the visualization. You also talked about some of your results kind of being maybe not as high as you were hoping for the first half of the season. And so what was your buildup like the weeks before? Like, where were you training? What were you doing for training? And then what were you doing to kind of process those results and still go into the Olympics with as much confidence as you could?
Yeah, I mean, I started off the season doing like the regular World Cup period one, which for me is always a mixed bag. It's like some of the most competitive World Cups in the year, and like you're not on snow much, you're getting into things, and those didn't go great, but I wasn't too worried because that's been my pattern in the past. And then Tour de Ski is usually when things start to come around. But I got food poisoning over the Christmas break, so like didn't feel quite as prepared for Tour de Ski. I was struggling with an elbow injury all season. It was like silently in the background and trying to figure it out while being on the road and being able to train, but not like my full capacity. So it was just this weird in between of not too bad, but not like good either. And so then the Tour de Ski, I had a few like glimmers of like really great results, and I was like, okay, I think it's coming. I went home for 2 weeks, which was a really nice reset. Like got to train in Vermont. Like the skiing was so great. I felt like I just needed a little bit of a reset and just some training. And so then I was really excited coming back over for the last World Cups before the Olympics in Gomes. And those went pretty well. It was like, okay, I'm making strides in the right direction. So I just used that as, hope and as belief that like another little training block to like fine tune things and things will really start coming together. And so I also think for me, like I've been able to perform at championships, even if the preparation isn't ideal or doesn't make sense, like 2 years ago for Trondheim. And so I just like believe in that and believe like I'm going to put it all in when it really matters the most. And that's kind of what I took with me. Like I've had injuries, I've had setbacks, and I've been able to find a way to perform. And so holding on to that like past success and believing and just like focusing on the things I think I could change leading into the games. Like I had very specific things I felt like I could move the needle on before.
Yeah. I feel like if anyone knows Julia Kern racing, it's that she's a gamer for championship events. And
I love a good game.
Yeah. Time and time again, I've been so impressed with like the way you have handled setbacks and injuries or illnesses or food poisoning, and you still like you obviously it knocks you down, but you get back up stronger than ever, and you show up like ready to perform, not just like show up and ready to finish. Like you're there to perform. So
I really don't know how you do that time and time
It's not
again.
always successful. I mean, my end of season was a pretty quick drop, so you can't rally from everything. But I think like I don't know. I think those setbacks also give you like hunger and fire to like be excited to do the sport and be excited just to be out there racing. And I think there is something to that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I want to dive into the racing at the Olympics this year. So I want to start with the classic sprint, and you placed sixth place, which, okay, wild stat. Maybe you've already heard this, but aside from Jessie's Olympic results in the past, your individual sprint result is tied with Sophie Caldwell-Hamilton for the best Olympic finish for a U.S. woman. I don't know if like that is something that you've even comprehended or like have thought about, but I was looking back and I was kind of looking at all of the results. You know, obviously there's the Jessie and Keegan team sprint, there's Jessie's results from 2022 and from this year in individual races, but aside from kind of those performances, it's you and Sophie, both placing sixth in a sprint final. And so I would just want to ask, like, how does that feel? I mean, that's like an incredible stat, I think, and I think it's so cool. So how does that feel for you?
I mean, yeah, I had no idea. I knew Sophie was sixth, and I feel like she's someone that I've looked up to for a really long time and has been like a mentor. And I just remember thinking like throughout the sprint day, like, yeah, Sophie made it happen at the Olympics. And just like thinking back to how she just like kept charging on. And I think that's what's so cool about the Olympics too, is like anything can happen. Like even if you're the favorite, like the craziest stuff happens at the Olympics. So yeah, I was really happy and proud. It was the only race this year I made it out of the quarterfinals, which for me, like usually I am making out of the quarterfinals like half the time or something like that. So I was just like, yeah, at the edge of my seat, finding the lucky loser path the whole day, which is really stressful. But I was also just like, yeah, really excited. And our skis were amazing that day. Like it all was coming together. And I think like as much as this season, in a way, I feel like pretty bummed about it. I do think that's like the bright spot, and not that just like results matter, but I just feel like I showed up and performed when it mattered most. And like, it reminded me like I have it in me. It's just figuring out the rest of the pieces.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have it in you. You've had um, quite a few classic sprint finals throughout the World Cup, your World Cup career. You've had sprint podiums, which is skate sprint podiums. But I'm curious, like from a classic sprint standpoint, uh, a lot of things had to go right for you. And so, what do you feel like you did really well to get to race day in the best place, physically, mentally, ski wise? Like, what went really well?
Yeah, I mean, I needed to qualify, and like I barely did that day. And that for me, the Val di Fiemme course has always been really hard to qualify. I don't know why. But I had cues along the course that I like on the ways I wanted to ski. And in the qualifier, I was a bit frantic. And actually, one of our wax techs, Eric, came to me when I was warming up for the heats, and he was like, "You don't need to rush so much. Like, trust your skis and just like ski relax. Like, it's a really big climb." And he watched me ski up the hill and was like, "Okay, that's better. Do it again." And like, he just gave me this like confidence and like this technique cue of more just, even though it's a sprint, it's a really long sprint and you need to relax.
Yeah.
And I started doing that and was like, oh, okay, like I actually am relaxed in this sprint here. I thought I was going to be like fighting for my life off the line. And it's like, I'm just going to ski relaxed and with confidence, and just having something like to think about so that you're not wasting energy worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then my skis also like kicked amazing and they glided insanely well. And there's some like thing in me where when I see the finish line, I have this like extra surge level that I can't bring out otherwise, which I need to figure out. But like I love like a high speed double pole finish where I can use my power. And so then there I just like, it was almost like my Hail Mary, even if I was in fifth or sixth, like I, slingshot it. I like the game of racing. Like, when can I slingshot? How can I draft? Not just like who's going to run up the hill the fastest. Like, I was definitely not the fastest up the big climb, but the race isn't over to the line. So I think, yeah, having that like technique cue and things to think about and thinking about relaxing and skiing with confidence and then not giving up until we're at the line. Like, it could have been easily like at the top. I was like, wow, I'm in like fifth, sixth. How am I going to make this happen? But
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Yeah. You never know until you cross that line. And you get that lucky loser spot too.
And my strategy, like when I was going through heat selection, for those people don't know, like we pick our heats based on our qualifier. Like I intentionally was aiming for the quarterfinal. I did because historically it has, those people have produced lucky loser times, and I thought I had a much better chance doing that than trying to get top two. So that was like part of my strategy that day. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it did work on the right day.
Yeah, yeah. I love those little kind of snippets of strategy that you carried throughout, like the cues from Per Eric and also the slingshot on the last downhill and the strategy of picking the heat that you did. Are there any other kind of strategic snippets that stand out from throughout the day of like how you talk to yourself mentally or how you handle the corner or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I guess there's one other thing, like coming into the last downhill, like the tracks, it looks like you come over that bump and it's just a straight shot, but it's slightly, like I love analyzing the course, like to the point where I ski in like every single finish lane when I'm course inspecting to figure out which one I think is the fastest. And so that day I was, skiing, and I noticed it's like a slight right bend. So I was like, okay, the right side is a bit of a shorter line. And if you can come at like the corner, the way they set it up, like spit you right against the boards. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity then where you can, cut to a right lane, which is also a lane changing skate push that produces momentum. So I used that as an opportunity to build momentum over the bump, be in that track. And then I knew that, or I felt that the right two lanes were skiing faster in my preview. They were like less wet and slushy because everyone was kind of staying in the middle and left. And the more it skis, the more moisture that comes up. So like, all of that was my strategy of, okay, this is how I'm going to pass people into the finish. And you have the draft, so you can like maneuver and if that lane is open. So that was like a very specific thing that I was eyeing in race prep and then on the race day. That's just what I like to do. And then similarly, there's so many corners. So I just wanted to be, everyone was fighting out of the start for that left lane. And there were so many like jam ups. If you watch, like almost every heat there's a jam up going into that left lane, and I always just went to the right. And so even if I had a slow start, I went from like 5th, 6th to 2nd. And so like having those contingency plans based on how the start goes, and then like making sure I always have my lane so I don't get stuck in the back was kind of my plan. And then by the final, I was just tired. I had spent it all. Unfortunately, I didn't have more to give. I was like, I am actually trying really hard right now to catch Ski Sod. I was like, she looks like she's not trying, but we're actually trying really hard.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. How did you feeling probably a little bit tired after the qualifier, the quarterfinal, the semifinal, and then kind of getting that time in between the semifinal and the final when you found out like you're moving on to the final and you're a little tired. Like how did you what did that time period look like? How were you talking to yourself? Were you talking to any coaches? Like how were you telling yourself I'm tired but I'm okay? Or were you saying you weren't saying that you're tired, right? Where you just like push that out? What did that look like in your mind?
I mean, in my mind, I was like, I think if I can just keep contact, like, until the downhill, then, like, anything could happen. So for me, it was just, like, be in the mix, ski relaxed. And I mean, I was tired, but I was like, I think I'm fine. Like, I'm not going to epically blow up. But, so, like, in my mind, maybe you just convince yourself of that. But, like, I like to listen to music between rounds and, like, I honestly tune everything out and just get myself, like, really pumped up. And so I did that again. And, went into the final not being like, oh, I made it, I can chill now. Like I was like in the final, I was like, half the people in this heat are getting a medal and I want to be one of them. And I think like having that attitude coming into a final and not just being like, phew, like that's cool. Like I kind of made my goal. Unfortunately, I was tired and I think I maxed myself pretty hard going the lucky loser route and just was pretty flooded and was getting a little slicker, and then it compounds. But I think just like going in with the mindset of like I belong here and like it's anyone's game, and it truly isn't a sprint. I was like, people could crash, like you just really never know.
Yeah, you never know, and people could totally crash. And honestly, I was surprised that there were not more crashes given the conditions. It looked so awful. Just like warm, slushy. Yeah. So unpredictable. I mean, that's another thing is like, geez, it was such a long sprint. Like usually on the World Cup, it's, around 3 minutes, but that could be like 2:40 to 3:20. And what was it? It was like 4.5 or something.
4:30. Yeah. And I think that contributed to like that last leg, I was like, man, I should have more in me, but it was, and all that hill too is like bigger than most
Yeah.
hills like, it's just so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so how did you handle kind of all of the warm, slushy, unpredictable snow? Like, I feel like sometimes, I don't know if it was icy in the qualifier. I didn't really see anything in the qualifier, but I'm assuming that conditions rapidly change throughout the day. So how did you and your wax tech Eli approach the day with all of those changing conditions?
Yeah, so you're right. It was like a sheet of ice for the qualifier. And I tested my skis and I was like, oh my God, I can just run up this hill like no problem. This is like dreams.
Yeah.
And so picking skis was actually pretty easy. Like Eli nailed it. It was like Clister. We often do like the roller wax. So it's pretty much, they already know exactly like how many layers they need to put on that should work. And so testing was like a breeze. I was like, wow, this is insane. Like skis kick great. But then like I give my race skis back and I'm on my warm-up skis, and like after a lap and a half I have zero kick, and I'm just like, oh no. So we're like radioing the text, we're like, is it concerning that like the wax is wearing really fast? And they're like, no, don't worry about it, like you just need to last one lap.
Yeah.
And that's gonna happen because it's so abrasive. Like I could barely do my warm-up because the snow was like so icy and abrasive, so I was just kind of like double pulling around. But like on those days, you just know that's just how it is, especially on a sprint day, where you don't want like binders slowing you down. And then for the heats, it was like total opposite conditions, like total slush fest, like hot spring skiing. And I was really excited for that because I love like a good Clister day, like New England skiing. That's what I grew up on. I feel like I've had really good sprints and like sloppy Clister. So I take that as like, okay, like I'm gonna have great kick. And for me, like if I have great kick, I can have a great day. And so I just took that as like fuel, and like confidence that I love a good New England Clister day. And that's what I kept telling myself. So I like to like play those mind games, or if it's like pouring rain too, I'm like, oh, rain. I've always had good races in like pouring rain days, like instead of people who kind of freak out about it. I was definitely nervous about like how hard and slow the course was going to feel. But then when you're around people, it goes by a lot faster and you're just like playing the game.
Okay, well, that was a perfect transition into my next question because again, similar to like how you come back from injuries, you show up on slushy days, rainy days, like when it's a tornado, Julia's like, I'm ready. How, like, is there something unique about those conditions that just get you so fired up, or what's your approach to kind of a slush or a torrential downpour type of day?
Yeah, I think part of it is New England. Like growing up in New England, we just skied in a lot of different conditions. I mean, I grew up skiing on a golf course, so you gotta find the reasons you think you're like as fast or prepared for as others. And I think, I don't know, you just hear athletes sometimes complain about the weather or like take themselves out of it in certain conditions. And for me, like those conditions I feel comfortable in. And so I just convince myself, I think, or just like tell myself like this is great, like other people are going to be complaining or like less stoked about it. And so you just have to shift that mindset a bit, and then like past success too like contributes to it a bit. Like really cold, like the Beijing snow, that did not give me confidence. Like there are conditions where I'm like, it's really cold out and my lungs don't like that, and there's no really way around it, and so there are like, and for some people it's like really hot conditions. So there are definitely conditions where it's harder for me to find reasons that play to my strengths. But I think for those conditions, I feel pretty good. And those are the conditions that people freak out about the most. And the other thing with the skis too, I forgot to mention, was that we were able to have 2 pairs of skis at the Olympics in the ski check. And so like Eli had a strategy where we would go A, B, A. Like he was like, oh, do we save the best pair for the final? And I was like, no, like there was strategy there. I was like, no, like I got to make it to the final. Like for me, it's not like the guarantee right now by any means. And so it was like a fresh pair quarterfinal, fresh pair semifinal, and then back to my original pair for the final. So there was strategy in the skis there as well, which you could like go BBA if you like think you're going to make it to the final, which I think is like maybe what Ben did actually. So it's every athlete is individual, and given that it was like so slushy and dirty, like that was really important to have 2 pairs of skis.
Yeah, I think that's such a really like detailed part of the day that probably a lot of listeners don't necessarily realize that on a sprint day, you used to be able to have your technician totally change your ski between rounds. And now because there's fluoro testing, you can't do that. So can you explain to listeners what you're allowed into like the start finish racing pen in terms of skis, and then also what you're allowed to change about your skis from heat to heat?
Yeah, so on a classic day you get 2 pairs of skis. On a skate day it's like 1 pair, so you're just stuck with the 1 pair. Can't be touched, can't be changed. Like once they check them in before the rounds, you're like committed to that ski. On classic days they allow 2, given that like conditions can change or like wax can change, all of that kind of thing. And often we don't use the second pair, but this was a scenario where it was really crucial. And they can adjust our kick with like hand tools, but like no wax remover or anything like that. So they really can only do touch-ups. It's pretty limited, and they have to do it in the zone where our skis are checked in for fluoro testing. So there's like a zone the skis can't leave. So there's really very little you can do, and our techs have to gamble like ahead of time. Like for example, on a snowy day, and it might be like zeros, maybe clister, maybe hard wax. Sometimes I have to gamble and put 2 different types out there so you have options. And there's it definitely adds a layer of challenge now to dialing in really good skis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's such a factor that some people just don't even recognize, like, oh, well, these skis have gone through three rounds already, or, getting to the final, they're on their 3rd round of the day. And it's like, yeah, those skis aren't as fast as they were in the quarterfinal, or maybe they're not as kicky as they were in the quarterfinal. Also on the other side, like maybe they sped up, right? They could be faster now than they were before. But yeah, that's such an interesting kind of detail that does add an element of stress also. How was it working with Eli throughout the day? Was he like calm, cool, and collected, or was he, I mean, I guess I could assume that he probably was, but how was that?
On the outside, yeah, like you could tell he was like excited, but he was also really dialed. Like we did the test for the qualifier, and it was like, okay, that was easy, good to go. Like we were on the same page. And then for the heats too, it was like I had 2 pairs that were very similar. I mean, we knew them and like had been dialing in the month before. Like that was the other thing I think that really paid off, was Eli and I like did a whole little testing. I'm not even camp, but like in Gomes that whole week, like about 3 weeks out from the Olympics, we were like trying different layering and like figuring out the skis so that when it came down to the race day, he knows exactly how they need to be waxed. Like how much kick is too much or how little kick is too little, and figuring that out. Because for me as a skier, if I don't have kick, like I'm not going to be in it. Like I need to have pretty secure kick as an athlete. And so we worked on that a lot. And so then come race day, there's a lot of confidence, and he puts the roller coaster on, and he knows exactly how much he's putting on and that it works for me. And so there's very little adjustments needed. But yeah, he was really excited. And I think he was also nervous because he had Ben going at the same time. And like most techs don't have 2 sprinters because that's just a lot. So I think on the outside, he was very like cool and like you could tell just really excited. But I'm sure on the inside he was fun.
He played it off cool.
Yeah, but the years of experience there pay off. Like I think when you work with someone for a really long time, then you also have a system, and then it's like another normal race. Like you shouldn't do anything crazy special.
Yeah. Well, was there any crazy special celebration at the end of the day?
Yeah. I mean, then I turned around and was like with Leanne, and our press officer, and we're like, Ben's gonna go now. And then we started watching. We're like, oh my God, they've broken away. And so I was like in the finish pen, like pretty tired, but also like watching this and be like, I like skip the media zone till later so that we can just like watch and celebrate Ben, and that was really cool. And then we stayed, and I went to the stands, hung out with Andrea Ogden and my parents. We watched the medal ceremony, so there was just like a lot of fun happening, and it was cool to like see the whole Vermont fan club from Southern Vermont and see my family and Andrea, and like everyone was like crying and smiling and laughing. It was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. What about later on in the day when you got back to the hotel? How did you feel?
I felt like, really excited. Then also was like, I need to sleep and recover because I have more races coming up. I think that's the thing that people also don't realize. They think like, oh, they just celebrate and have fun. And it's like, you want to, but also there's like, so like my biggest event was still yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I need to absorb this, recover, and like take care of myself for the rest to come. So that was a really big day. I don't even remember, like, I think maybe they had a cake or something for Ben, or like we did something, but I honestly, I don't remember. The Olympics
All
turns into a
blur.
blur. But
Yeah.
I did get gelato that, oh yeah,
Oh.
we got gelato that night. I got it. There was a group of us who walked down to down like half a mile. There's this really great gelato place, and we just all got gelato. And that was like
Fun.
the celebration, which was fun.
Yeah. I know that's always the tough part is like the ski season happens so it's so long, but also the races, even at the Olympics, are like you're only really a few days away from your next race, or maybe it's even the next day. And it's like to celebrate a result, it's like, well, that means, my celebration might inhibit my performance in coming races. So you have to kind of be careful. And, as you mentioned, another very big race was just a couple days away, the team sprint with Jessie. And so I want to kind of move on and talk about that one. So, you and Jessie have had plenty of experience in the past doing team sprints together and at championship events, right? You were third at the 2023 World Champs in the skate team sprint, and then you were second at the 2025 World Champs in the classic team sprint. So given your history with Jessie and this event, what type of expectations did you have maybe for yourself or for the two of you as a team going into the race day?
Yeah, I think we both just wanted to like ski our best for one another. I think the team event, there's like this added layer of pride, but also stress, because you're like, I'm not just letting myself down if I don't do how I want, but like my team. And I was just really excited for it. Like this was the race that like when the intervals were hard in the summer, like was motivating me. And like Jessie and I talked about it. We were doing intervals together at one point, and I was like, oh, I was like thinking about a team sprint and like how I needed to like push hard to like practice this. And she's like, I was thinking the same. So like I think that was really cool. Like we had a lot of those moments this year, like working collectively towards something. But it also like, yeah, it meant that we really, I don't know, like I really wanted to medal in that event. But I knew it's possible if we have a great day, but I also knew there were a lot of strong teams. Like I think more teams were like more put together than other years. Like Trondheim, I feel like a lot of weird stuff happened, and Jessie and I were like not even a favorite to do well, and then we were like throwing down. So I think that's the crazy thing about a team sprint is like anything can happen, and you saw that with Jessie and Keegan when they got gold. Like I think people were a bit surprised by that. So yeah, I think I was really excited. I was really nervous, but I was like, okay, this is good. I mean, I should be nervous. And I think we both skied really hard. Like we put down a good fight, and I think just a few things didn't go quite right. And we honestly like haven't debriefed it too much because there was also a lot going on with Ben and Gus and earning their silver medal. But I think that's what is also really cool about the skiing right now is I feel like the women's field is so competitive. Like there are a lot of really strong women, and nothing's a guarantee. And you like, yeah, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah. You mentioned kind of in the last summer or fall, you were doing workouts with Jessie and you were kind of talking about like thinking of the team sprint. Aside from that, did you have other moments of communication ahead of time? Was there like a strategy meeting in the weeks leading up to it or the days leading up to it? Did you guys practice handoffs, or were you kind of just ready to show up day of, hype each other up and get each other fired up?
Yeah, I would say mainly our preparation or our strategy meeting was like the days leading into it, because like also the team hadn't been decided. Like, this is something that Jessie and I were working towards, but it also could have very well been someone else who's on the team sprint team. I did the team sprint in Gomes to practice as well, like just the feeling of that and a harder course. So, but that was with Sammy, but it was great because I think I like learned a lot just from that team sprint, like 3 weeks out from the Olympics. So I took some lessons from that. And then, yeah, we had a strategy meeting with the coaches a few days before to talk about like what order do we go in and our strategy, like what has worked well, who do we think the other teams are, all of that. And I think, yeah, our usual strategy didn't work as well as it has in the past. And so that's also like the gamble is like you go with the strategy, but you never know like conditions and how, like we've never team sprinted on that course before. And that's, yeah, kind of the preparation. And the race the day before, we did a bunch of tag practice to make sure those were like executed well and thinking about where we want to sit in the zone. But there's a lot of strategy communication there.
What was the conversation like when it came down to decide what order you and Jessie were going to go in? Because in the past, like Jessie has historically anchored a lot of team events, and this time around you anchored it, which wasn't the first time you'd ever anchored one. But what was that conversation like?
Yeah, so when Jessie and I have team sprinted together, I think pretty much every time I've anchored, and that's worked pretty well because Jessie was like, in the first leg, I feel like I'm more well matched with the more distance skiers who can push the pace and, string out the teams. And then for me, I felt like confident in my fitness too, where I could be pushing the pace, but like keep a lid on it. And we both thought like I would maybe have a better kick at the finish. Like if it came down to like a sprint out in the finish lanes, like I was kicking well in the sprint, and like historically I've had some good finishes there. So that was a bit of our strategy in terms of legs, and that's what we've done in the past on World Cup and at the World Championship. So we felt like that was working well, and we decided to do that again.
Nice. Well, so then, it was a close race all the way to the finish line. But when Jessie tagged you for that final leg, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, we're still in it. Finland was like off ahead, but I was like, you never like didn't really know what was going to happen, and there was a big group of us, so I was trying to go. Like Nadine took off, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to go with her, and if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna settle in this pack, and like maybe Finland drops back at some point, and then it's a sprint out, and so like I just need to be in contact. And from the start, I was like, oh wow, Nadine went out really hot, and I was like, I cannot match that pace right now, unfortunately. So then I was skiing with Germany and another team. I don't even remember. Germany and Switzerland, maybe, or someone. Germany and someone else. And we were all like, skiing. We got hit to the bottom of the climb, and I was like, oh, I'm actually feeling okay. Like, I'm going to go. So I start surging, and I'm like about to make a move, and then they start surging. And I was like, oh no. But I see Finland is like close. And so I was just like, I gotta like try to keep contact. But like, my strategy was just like play the game, like the tactics. Like you don't really know how it's going to unfold until you're in it, but like be as close to the medals as I can, and then have a good finish, and like thinking about where I want to be in the draft. What ended up happening was Finland did crash on the last corner, and Switzerland, took second. Oh, Norway was the other country. And then there was a sprint out for third, and then I was like behind them, but I just couldn't quite match that speed, and I think I burned a little bit too many matches in the second round. And it was just a dynamic race and pretty exciting finish, but like that's why you never know if it's over. Like Finland was like in the medals and then crashed, and you can't count anyone out.
Yeah. I also feel like it's so hard in any type of sprinting, whether it be an individual sprint or a team sprint, that you have to put yourself in the mix to get to a position where you could medal or be in the top few teams or individual result, right? And in order to put yourself in the mix, you have to work really hard, right? No one can kind of, especially at this level, like no one can just, bring their mediocre game to like the first round in a team sprint or the quarterfinal, right? Like everyone has to show up, and then it's kind of like who can keep showing up over and over again. And so like, I mean, the way you talk about it, it sounds like you gave it everything you could throughout the entire day, which means that that first round, the second round, you could feel that in the third round a little bit, I'm assuming. And so that's such a like tricky thing. Like no one can like sleep ever and then show up just like ready to go the last time.
Yeah, and it's a game of poker too, and like risk. I think in the past our pushing the pace risk has worked because it's just like blowing people up. But this time around, what we didn't, I think, anticipate enough was that everything kept coming back together in the downhill into the finish. Like no matter the gaps, everyone would just suck back in. And so the teams that were maybe dangling off the back, like kept getting sucked back in. And Germany actually was one of these teams where they were like, if you watch the earlier rounds, they were very much middle back of the pack, just like sitting and chilling and like dangling, but then they kept getting pulled back in, and then come to the finish, it's like Coletta, who's had multiple sprint podiums, and Julia Drivnis, who's like got fourth and who's been on fire this year. And it's like, you know, we're matching up against the best, and
Yeah.
that makes it really hard. And like Yasmi like popped off in her last leg, like that's historically not happened before, and so like there was a lot of moving pieces, and I think the fact that the downhill just like created this perfect draft where everyone came back together, it kind of threw a wrench in our plan a little bit, and ultimately like, yeah, just changed the dynamic of it. And you take that risk, because if you don't take the risk and you don't go, you never bridge back onto that pack, but maybe it comes back together. And so you also have to, like, depending on what your team is made up of, you decide like what risks are worth taking, and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Oh, sport.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how did you and Jessie process that at the finish line then? Or, I mean, you said that you haven't really had a chance to chat with her, debrief about it entirely. So maybe how do you process kind of the day and how things went?
Yeah, I mean, I think I crossed the finish line and Jessie was there, and we were both just like proud of each other. I mean, we truly did give everything we had, and I think like we both know each other well enough too to know what that looks like. And I think that's kind of where we were at. We were just like, you know, like, this is a bummer, but also I don't think like we tried our best, and that's all you can do. And you can't always control the outcome. And I think we were both proud of like how hard we fought and how hard we skied. And like, yeah, it still doesn't mean it doesn't sting, but yeah. And then we like turned around and watched Ben and Gus win a silver medal, and that was really cool. And it was like, for me, it was an emotional roller coaster, because I was like so excited and happy, and I was like crying tears of joy, and then I was like crying tears of sadness of being like, this is, you know, like how cool it would have been if we like both teams medaled, or like this is also the dream I've had. And so it was just like a very mix of emotions. And then I was, yeah, like I had this gnarly cough at the Olympics and like just feeling horrible, and I was just like, everything is happening right now, so many emotions. But it was really cool to see like Ben and Gus medal, and I feel like it kind of like brought me out of the sorrow a bit. And like it was cool to see almost like the torch being passed, like with Jessie retiring now, like Ben and Gus, like, you know, they're like, the men's team is doing it now, and they're almost like carrying the torch more for the team. And I think that was in a way like a special moment in a different kind of way. But yeah, I don't know, it still stings. Like, you go to all these events for like Olympic events, and everyone only cares about Olympic medals. And not that that's true, but like the general public, that's like what people know and care about. And there's so much more than the Olympic medals, and it just stings a little bit every time. But
Yeah.
Also, life goes on, and that's not like why I ski race. I think it's just a cherry on top.
It is so tough with the Olympics, because I feel like the world really tunes in every 4 years for the Olympics. And it's like, well, wait, these athletes have been competing every single year, you know, every weekend throughout the winter, and there have been outstanding results at World Championship events or at World Cup events. And not as many people, you know, the tight-knit ski community pays attention to that, but really the greater world does not. And it's so interesting that like when you get to the Olympics, it's like medal or bust. And to get sixth is almost like,
or fifth.
Or fifth, right? It's
yeah, like we were like not far off, you know, like it's a few seconds and in fifth, but it's
I mean, that's like still an insane result, but because it wasn't gold, silver, or bronze, Joe Schmo in, you know, Ohio doesn't know about it, versus like maybe Joe Schmo knows about the silver that Ben and Gus got, right? I don't know. But it's just so tricky that sport gets so like specific at the Olympics, and it really comes down to like these medals or not. And I think that a lot of the athletes competing hopefully don't feel that way, but it's tough when like the public kind of, that's all they really pay attention to. And so I don't know, it's just like nice to hear
your story about getting these results, and also like how incredible they are. And I'm proud of the racing that you did. Like I was so fired up watching the sprinting, and so it was really cool to see. And there's still more to come.
Yeah, and in the team relay too, like the 4-person relay, we tied, I think, our best ever Olympic result. So like
Mhm.
again, like it wasn't this medal, and people were kind of like, I don't know, the general public is like, oh, whatever. But I actually think, given where our team was at, like, you know, a lot of us weren't at like full capacity, and like we were in the mix, and I think that was
Yeah.
really cool. Like I think we put down together a good relay team there too, and it's um yeah, like I think those things aren't seen or celebrated as much, but in my mind, like that relay, I was like the team relay, I was really proud of too. And like same with the team sprint, I'm still really proud of it, even though it's like not what I think people expected of us or what I was dreaming of.
Mhm.
But we were still in the mix. Like it wasn't like we were totally out of it. And
Yeah.
so I think there's, yeah, got to remember to like also see the good in those moments.
Yeah. Okay, I have a few final questions. Jessie obviously retired at the end of this last season, and having been kind of a staple on these team sprint and relay teams, right? How do you feel like team sprinting and relay racing for the U.S. women might evolve in the next coming years?
I think we have a lot of talent, and I think I'm really excited to see what happens, because I think the groundwork, like from Jessie and Keegan and that whole like Sophie, all that era is there, and so now it's just putting all the pieces together. I think we have a lot of fast sprinters up and coming who would be great team sprint partners. I think the women's team, like we had a women's meeting this week, and like one of the things we talked about, like what are our team goals? It's still like getting a relay medal at a championships, whether it's like world championships or Olympics. Like that's something that our team is very capable of, and it just hasn't been put together. And I believe it's very feasible, and I think a really exciting goal to work towards as a team, and people are really excited to do that. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens. I think like it might take a little time, like we're kind of a little bit in a rebuilding phase, but we have a lot of talent, and now it's just executing at the highest level.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it'll come together. Um, okay, zooming out, like walking away from the performances at the Olympics. How are you feeling?
I am feeling a mixed bag. Like I feel like I'm finally decompressing from the season. It took me a little bit longer. I'm but yeah, like I said earlier, I think like I just need a little more time than usual this year. It was like
Hmm.
a really tough ending. I was struggling with this mystery gnarly cough like for 2 months since the Olympics, and I'm going through the process of rehabbing an elbow injury, and so like I just have a lot of, I feel like a construction site right now. It's like spring building, gotta figure out, get all the pieces back together, and then I can like think about training. But I think it's really hard to think about training when you're like, my body isn't 100% yet. And so my goal right now
Hmm.
is just to like feel good and normal again, and then start building for the next year. And it's been really fun. I feel like the last month has been extremely social. I've gotten to
Hmm.
connect with a lot of friends like all over the country, honestly. And I think I really needed that, and I'm excited to like grow my community at home a bit more and be home a bit more in the spring. Like we have no bend camp this year, and just like have a little more time to like ease into the season. And think about how I like, yeah, what worked well last year, how I want to do things differently. I've been doing this for a long time now, and so I think like the way I do things changes a little bit, so that like I have a long career where I like really enjoy racing and everything that goes into it. But my balance just like has changed over the last few years, as
Hmm.
I'm sure you very well understand.
Yes. We aren't
Yeah,
the same 21-year-olds that we used to be.
definitely, both in physical body and in like
Yes.
in, yeah, just your life balance
Life.
with it changes. And I think like you learn how to train smarter, not like harder, and like where it's important to like, I think again, I told myself going into this year, but it's so easy to like try hard and just like be like, I'm going to put everything in. It's an Olympic year. But in the end, I don't think that's actually what makes you faster. But it's just so easy to fall in that trap of like like just trying really hard instead of just being like, what makes me feel like a really well-rounded human who's happy and is like feeling like they have a sense of purpose and they have a really good sense of balance, which I think lends to a really fast skier as well and a long career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So more
Julia,
downhill skiing in our future.
Yes, I would love to. We still have to make it to Tux. But yes, that was a perfect wrap up for this episode. Thank you so much for putting a pretty little bow on it. And yeah, I just want to thank you for the time and walking us through your Olympic experience. It was really, I'll be honest, it was challenging for me to tune in to the racing at the Olympics this year, but there were certain races that I was sure to tune into, and I was very excited to watch your performances and cheer for you from Vermont. So really proud of your performances and also how you show up, whether like at championship events, whether it be hurricane weather or slush fest, you're ready to go. And I know there's lots of good stuff in your future still, so always cheering.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Extra Blue, and thank you, Julia, for sharing your Olympic experience. It really is so impressive to see how Julia handles herself through injuries or setbacks and knows how to show up when it's go time. She leaves nothing on the table and races with pure heart. And it is always a joy to race with Julia and cheer her on every second. I hope you enjoyed this episode and have been taking some time this spring to do your own reflecting. It's such an important part for us to grow as humans, even though it isn't always fun. A lot of my reflecting recently has been a bit of a mixed bag of emotions. There's been some devastation after just missing an Olympic team, followed by the sense of overwhelm of love from the ski community to support me. And I just want to say that I'm grateful for the people who have supported my journey as an athlete, no matter what the outcome. And I also want to shout out that Gear West has been a huge part of that. They have been on this journey with me since I was a little girl getting my first pair of race skis in middle school. And they have also supported me since I graduated college and decided to pursue this crazy sport full time. I just wanted to take a minute to thank Gear West for the ongoing support for my skiing, for this podcast, and for supporting the entire ski community.